Welcome to the Chief Endurance Officer Podcast. I'm your host, Greg McDonough. Each week, we hear real-time stories from athletes and CEOs on how to maximize performance through an endurance mindset. Let's get started. Well, welcome to the Chief Endurance Officer Podcast. I'm your host, Greg McDonough. I am super excited about our guest today. He is a dynamic motivational speaker, veteran entrepreneur whose stories of resilience are truly inspiring. Former staff sergeant with the U.S. Air Force, 10 years of service before having a motorcycle accident in 2017 that altered his life. Please welcome the owner of Kiwi Enterprises, Kijuan Amey. Welcome, Kijuan.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so
You can hear me babbling through your intro. Let's get into the meat of it. So, Kijuan, I love talking about the endurance mindset. So I want to hear how your endurance mindset has impacted your life unexpectedly.
yeah, and that's exactly the best way to put it. Unexpectedly, I had to kick it in. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I was in the United States Air Force, so endurance was a thing. We had to run for endurance. When we took that PT test, my endurance had to kick in then, but this was another form. And so May 5th, 2017, of course, I would be involved in a motorcycle accident that would change my life in more ways than one. And not only would, I break both of my legs and my spine and have all these metal rods inserted and implanted in me, but I would also lose my eyesight. And so you want to talk about being stuck in your own mind like that's basically what happened. And this was at the age of 25. So, if you can remember back to 25, you were probably out there doing everything and everything and any and everything. And that's basically what I was doing. Any and everything I could, just to have fun, just to live life. And the military was a part of that. So it was so crazy how I had to, basically go from being an entrepreneur, serving my country, going to school full time to get my degree in computer information systems. Man, you name it, I'm doing it. And then all of that stopped, like literally a screeching halt from one motorcycle accident. And the endurance side comes in where I had to now fight back and get back on my feet. Because now I'm learning how to walk all over again. I'm learning how to talk again because my jaw had been broken. A lot of damage was done there. I'm learning how to deal with my emotions because of the severe traumatic brain injury that I suffered. I now have to be able to manage those emotions. They can flare up at any moment, and so I guess you just heard a little part of the speaking part that I had to learn how to do all over again, where you have to slow down sometimes. And so learning how to walk again was more so hard because not only did I have, metal rods surgically implanted, but, when you first start learning how to walk as a child, you're not heavy. You're about, 20 pounds or so. Well, imagine being 150, 160 pounds trying to walk. And these are not your regular legs. You have different parts. Yeah, but bone that's not there anymore. It's now metal rods. Your spinal cord is jacked all up because it now has metal rods. And you can't see anything. So your balance is thrown off as well. People don't realize that when you go from being able to see and not, your balance gets thrown off. And so I am literally learning how to walk almost like an infant again. When I say baby steps, that's exactly what they were. I was barely getting my foot up and I was barely moving it forward. But the endurance kept me going. And now I'm even up, not just walking fast, not just jogging, but back to running, guys.
That's
And so
awesome.
that's the endurance side of it because I kept doing what I needed to do to get where I needed to go.
Man, you got my skin tingling. I'm so thankful that the outcome has turned out the way the outcome has turned out. You are giving us a gift and you are inspiring. Keelan, I got to ask the question, like, over that journey, when did you realize that, hey, I've actually been given a gift here, right? Not just the gift of survival, but the gifts that I can get back on my feet, literally get back to running, get back to this, and have an impact in your community. Because I would imagine those first months, years were pretty dark as you were learning how to do these things again. Talk to us about when it changed from sort of, it's not about me, and it turns into a community and an impact. And when did that really pivot for you?
Yeah, so with me being in the hospital, it was kinda one of those moments where I could lay right here in this bed and not wanna get up, not wanna do anything, tell everybody to get out and go on, whatever you wanna say, kick rocks, you know? Uh, I decided not to. And my thing that I tell everybody is I was a competitor. I've been competing in sports since I was 5 years old. It's not the most common sport that everybody else is doing, but I started out bowling. That was the first sport I started out in at the age of 5. And so I was actually a, legitimate USBC sanctioned bowler, which USBC means United States Bowling Congress. So I could travel among the nation and compete in any tournament if I wanted to. And so that was awesome. And I did that up until my teenage years until I got to the point where I think I want to do something else. So I did try basketball one year. I didn't like it. Tried track. I was like, okay, this not too bad, especially this jumping part. I like this jumping thing that I'm doing here, you know. So I did the long jump and the high jump, and I did hurdles in middle school. And then I got to high school. I cut out the hurdles because they went up in height, and I said I don't want to go any higher. Uh, and so I did continue to do the long jump and the high jump. I also ran as well. I did the 200, the 4x1, and things of that nature. But that football thing, oh, now you're talking. Now I get to wait. You're telling me I can take out some stress and hit somebody? You know, I get to run past somebody and make them look bad. Oh man, oh, this is fun. You know? And the other thing was I got to work out that physicality part of it. Once I started lifting weights, I was hooked. It was literally so in football, and for all my people who do, train for sports, I'm sure you've heard of two-a-days. People used to hate two-a-days. I I loved it because I got to work out, and then I got to go in the later on in the day, I would go, work, run on the field, stuff like that. Working out was fun for me. So when I got in that gym, oh, this is not working. This is fun. Whereas everybody else is in there complaining, halfway asleep, whatever the case is, showing up late, whatever. I'm in there early. I probably done already started lifting. I even when I had advanced weightlifting classes, I used to work out twice a day. I would work out in school and after school for football. So I couldn't get enough. But anywho, I wanted to show that when it came, to getting back up and just the mindset, the gift of saying this is not it. It came from those competitor days because my mind just shifted back to that. Hey man, we're gonna make this a competition thing. Let's get up. Even when it came down to me walking, I had created a goal for myself. I wanted to start back walking without any support. So I started in a wheelchair, went to a walker, and then a support came. I wanted to be without all of that before my birthday of that same year, 2017. And my birthday was November 22nd, and the accident was May 5th. I beat my goal by almost a whole month. I was back up and walking without support in October of the year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that competitor came back out. I just can't stop what it is. So it's naturally in me to keep competing or find a way to compete. And so that's what I do.
I'd love to dive into, you mentioned bowling, and I haven't had a guest that has that background. And so I want to talk to you about sort of the mindset aspect of that sport, right? And I've gone bowling with my friends, and I'm nowhere close to even breaking 100, but that's okay.
It's all right.
It's a very much as a sport that you're with yourself, right? You
Oh,
can't
yeah.
rely on a teammate. You can't rely. I mean, you have probably teammates and coaches and
Oh,
those
yeah.
types of things, but at the end of the day, it's really between your ears.
Yes.
And I would love to know, like, at age 5, how did you develop sort of the mindset aspects of being a competitive bowler?
Okay, at age 5, it's more so about you learning what you're doing first and foremost. So you're just out there initially, you're just out there trying to get the ball down the lane. That's that's a long lane, okay? When you're that little, it's long. So you just watch the ball. It's just slowly rolling. And when it finally hits those pins, everybody's excited. And you're like, we're excited. And so you're figuring out the whole gist of bowling at that point. Okay, so when I knock down pins, that's a good thing. I'm supposed to do that. Got it. And so as you slowly progress through the years, and like I said, I went up into my teens into where I was on like a whole travel league team. And so we would travel around the nation and go to different areas and be involved in tournaments. And that was kind of rough because sometimes you're so used to bowling with one team at the house that you bowl at. And then when you're with your travel league, we're different ages. So it's not like we're going to bowl as a group. We are going to bowl as a group, but we'll be on all over that bowling center. I might be down here, somebody might be in the middle, somebody might be on the far side. None of us are on the same lane. And so now you're just like, I need my support. And you're like, okay, since I don't have a support, now I got to rely on what I know. What do I know? Well, I know that if I stand at this dot on the floor, okay, that's where I'm supposed to stand. I'm looking at this arrow on the lane, okay? And if I release my ball at this point on my hand, that should be a good ball. Now I have to make sure that the revolutions coming off my hand, and that's when you snap the ball up, is a good pull. And you wanna stay in that position. I don't know if you've ever watched bowling on TV where they stay there, and you might see that front foot sliding a little bit. It might be twitching just a little bit. That's because they're trying to get their balance. That's all that is. They're just trying to get balance. They were slightly off balance. But when you hold that pose is basically just to say, I threw that ball just how I was supposed to. Now, for me, it was kind of hard because I don't know, I seemed like I was always off balance. I don't know what it was for me. I think I was too reliant on my arm versus allowing the entire process of your body to do the work. I was too focused on my upper body, like forcing the ball out of my hand instead of rolling the ball out of my hand. And that's what they always used to say. Every time I would mess up, they'd be like, roll the ball. Roll the ball. And I'm like, I did roll the ball. They're like, no, you're throwing the ball. And I'm like, I don't get it. And at that point, I did not get it. I did not understand it. But what they have to do is break it down to you. And they put tape on the floor. Like when we had our sessions of actual coaching, like when they would actually coach us, they would put a piece of tape on the floor or a piece of paper on the floor. And they would say, roll over that piece of paper. And I want you to try to roll over this paper and shoot for that pin. It might be one pin up there. I want you to shoot for that pin, okay? And we'd be like, all right. So we roll over the paper and shooting for the pin, aiming for that pin. They'd be like, holy smokes, that's pretty cool. Okay, let's see what you're doing. But it got us in the mindset, okay, well, okay, that pin is up there. The paper's not there, but I remember where it was. Like in your mind, you remember, okay, the paper is not there, but I remember where it was. So that's what I'm aiming for. I have a target in mind to get me to my goal. And that's what you're looking for. You need to have a target in mind to get to your goal. And so with bowling, man, my grandmother's about to be 78, and she's still bowling.
That's awesome.
And so it's in the family.
I see you had a bowl and it didn't turn out the way you wanted, right? And now you get this self-doubt sort of poking in.
Mm-hmm.
How have you sort of washed out that self-doubt so you can sort of get back to the mission of, hey, all right, that was not a good one. Maybe this next one's better. Was there any sort of mental trick that you would go through to sort of kind of like let the past be the past?
It was a little harder for me because I took so much. I put a lot of weight pressure on myself. I put a lot of pressure on myself. I'm one who likes to get things right and get it right the first time. Like I'm that person, and I'm like, I can't be that way. Not everything is gonna be. We're not perfect, and it took me a while to grow and learn that. So I do use that as teaching tools now. But when I was, actually bowling, if I didn't get it right by a certain frame, because there's 10 frames of bowling for each game. If I didn't get it right by a certain frame, I just didn't, I couldn't. It's kind of like I couldn't. My mind was just like, oh, I'm screwed. And so I would literally have to wait until the next game. And I would come in that next game firing though. Like, I mean, strike after strike after strike. I'm like, okay, we're ready now. And my highest game was a 286. The best, the perfect game is a 300. I've never been able to hit it out. I don't, it's not, I don't care. My oldest brother, he hit it before, but it doesn't bother me. But yeah, 286, and I got a pin and everything for it. I hit the 280 club. That's what they call it, 280 club and all that stuff. And I was, it was cool, but when's the next one? That's all I cared about, and that's how you think about it. And it's kind of like with the, since the most recent championship that just passed was the Super Bowl. It's kind of like the Super Bowl. You get that quick moment and then you're like, all right, what is the next one?
Yeah. I do triathlon races and I say that the starting line of my next race is the finish line of the current race. Like I come across that finish line and it's like, okay, what's next?
Yep.
Right. Hug the family, pack up your gear, and you start looking for the next one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kijuan, I'd love to shift gears slightly on you and talk about what you're doing now. I mentioned at the intro, you're doing motivational speaking.
Yes.
Give us a larger perspective of what you're up to these days.
Yes. So my motivational speaking business, Amey Motivation, that is, well, it came about, of course, from the accident, but I didn't start it until 2019. That was when I was, able to get around and do more things and be physically capable of, navigating of, different things like that. But I have been not only, trained and accomplished and certified, but I mean, I had already had this stuff in me. Because when I was going through these different certifications, I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I already went through that before. And it almost made me feel upset because I was like, I paid all this money for this. But anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm speaking and I'm loving it first and foremost. I love speaking not only on stages, but podcasts. I love podcasts.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I do. I really do. I love doing podcasts. I love, I love stages more than I do Zoom calls though, when it comes to the speaking side of it, like actually doing motivational speaking. I would rather be in front of an audience than to be talking to a screen. You know what I mean? And the reason I say that is because of first off, the blindness side of it. I already can't see you. But when we're on Zoom, I can't hear you either. So if I say something that's really impactful, I can't hear you, make a noise or like, wow, you're anything. I can't hear anything because you're on mute. And so those are some of the things that I have to now deal with because of the pandemic. That really took a turn on me, and I'm now learning how to navigate that. But nevertheless, I still do both. I do speak on stages as well as Zooms. So I've done, Zoom calls for Wells Fargo. I've done it for different, companies like that as well. So it's not that I can't. It's just that I would prefer.
Sure.
Oh, I was gonna say I also, do mentoring. I
Mm.
mentor like one-on-one. I don't like to do group mentor sessions. But I do mentor one-on-one as well as coaching.
I'm so we got a handful of entrepreneurs that listen to and follow our show. And, there's also entrepreneurial groups that are involved in the show. Give us a sense back to your motivational talk. What's the right audience, or what's the perfect audience for you? As we're thinking about, hey, we got a conference coming up. Is it to a company? What's the ideal setup for you?
Ideal. Um, because I was basing it off of that perfect, and I was like, I don't have a perfect audience. Um, an ideal audience is one that is looking to literally be impacted.
Mhm.
So if you are looking to be impacted by not just a story, because everybody has one, but a story that shows you true change. It shows you how to be motivated, how to be inspired, how to move from what should have been the end of my life to the best of my life. These are things that I tend to bring to the stage. I want you to leave that room, that venue, auditorium, whatever it is, Zoom call. I want you to leave and be like, man, I'm glad I heard him today. I will remember something he said for the rest of my life. And that's what I'm looking for. Or I hope you come back and say or tell someone, you know.
That's very, very helpful. Um, because I love being in the audience of folks like you, because it changes your day, it
Mhm.
changes your month, it changes your life, right? It's like, what am I sitting here complaining about
Right.
when this gentleman went through this, dramatic
Hmm.
event in his life, and now he's on the top of the world. Do you want to? You mentioned mentoring and coaching. Are you mentoring individuals that are going through sort of a life changing event like you've been through, or is it a little bit more general, a little bit more? Give us a sense of who the type of people you're mentoring.
Both. I do both. So mainly, I focus on people who have went through things because I can speak to that very easily. When you're living it, it's so much easier to speak to. And I definitely talk to. So I'm a part of an organization called the Air Force Wounded Warriors Program, and they have a sector of that program called mentorship. And so I'm a mentor, and they assign me mentees. Right now, I think I have 4 or 5 mentees, and so, um, from visually impaired people to car accidents, motor vehicle accidents, whatever it is, uh, traumatic brain injuries to, PTSD, whatever it is, they might have different things. Some might have the same, and, it's just one of those things. I even had one that I just picked up randomly, like, he was talking to me. He was like, "Dude, can you mentor me?" It was one of those moments because he just listened to how I was, talking about how I did my situation, how I handled it. And he was like, "Man, is it possible? Can you be my mentor?" I was like, "Sure, I don't mind." And we just exchanged contact information right there. But as far as those who are not, in that program, I do mentor people just like young men, for example. I'm 33, but I have definitely seen and before I lost my eyesight, I've seen, witnessed some things, and even till today, I'm still living and witnessing things. So I can help those who need help or want help, even if it's on the entrepreneurial path or just they want help in life. I tend to mentor in more aspects than not.
That's very helpful. Um, you have achieved and accomplished and gotten through some huge hurdles, obstacles. You set big goals. you accomplish those goals. I'd love to know, what's the next big goal for you? What are the things you're working on for the next 5, 10 years?
Ooh, 5 or 10 years. All right. We're jumping out here. So the next 5 or 10 years, I'm hoping to definitely have stable and steady speaking engagements. And what I mean by that is I want there to be conferences that are, oh yeah, I think Kijuan's having that conference in October, right? Isn't that when he have it? Yeah, yeah, that's when he usually has it. Like, and then my annual event, I want it to be a big one. Eventually it'll grow and grow and grow to the point where I can't use a small venue. That's what I'm hoping to do, and to just impact lives everywhere, not just in the US. I want to impact lives all over the world.
Brilliant. You mentioned your annual event. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I actually have one coming up soon, May 3rd. May 3rd, 2025, here in Carborough, North Carolina, actually. So it is at a restaurant called La Montana, and I will be hosting an annual event where I will be the speaker, the main speaker for this event. So I will be headlining. There will be a VIP as well as general admission. With the VIP, I call that the Kiwi experience. And you'll get to network with me for 30 minutes. And also you'll receive a swag bag, which has some Amey Motivation gear. And so you'll have, different gear that comes in there. Like, what did I do? Water bottles. I did pins. I did a towel and the actual bag that has
Right.
actually has Amey Motivation on it. So yeah, you get all of that included in the ticket price, and also a meal. The meal is included in your ticket price. So that happens, and then we'll eat for an hour, and then you'll have the time where I come up, and then I speak for about 30, 45 minutes. I don't want to be too long-winded, and I'll leave time for those who, were general admission. They can go purchase merchandise, because that'll be at the back of the room as well. So yeah.
And if you send me the link to that event, we'll definitely include it in our show notes. So anyone in the audience that wants to travel to North Carolina or is already local,
Yeah.
and be interested in seeing your event.
Yeah.
You also have a
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I wanted to mention one more thing about it.
Yeah, please.
With the event, it is going to be found on Eventbrite. So those who are familiar, it'll be on Eventbrite, and you can search "Will to Overcome." So literally the word "will," WILL, to overcome. And the word "will" is in all caps, and that'll be more to come at the event. So you got to come to know more.
Awesome. You've also published a book.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about your book?
Sure, yeah. Don't focus on why me, from motorcycle accident to miracle. That is the title of the book. It could be found on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, as well as Apple Books. So I do have audio versions as well as a paperback. And so my book, I wrote that June 2021 is when it was published. And I started writing it in the pandemic, when I started learning how to use a computer again, because I didn't want to have a ghostwriter. I actually wanted to do it myself. So yes, I wrote this book myself. No one assisted me other than the editor and the book formatter. That's it.
That's a big task.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so with the cover, for those who have seen the cover, it is a picture of a motorcycle, as well as a, kind of like a tree with a dock area with a little bit of water you can see in the backdrop. And those two pictures, I used to be a photographer. That's when I did my business of Kiwi Enterprise. I did photography in that business as well. And I took both of those pictures. One of them was of a motorcycle that's on there, and that's actually my motorcycle on the front of that cover, the one that I had the accident on. And that is the lake that I told y'all I was leaving from. So those are the actual places in the book that I'm referring to. The actual place and the motorcycle that I'm referring to in that book is on the front of that cover.
And we'll, again, include those links in our show notes. I think in a few minutes when we wrap up, I'm going to jump on Amazon and grab it, because
you know, keep on understanding your story and hearing what you've gone through and what you're delivering to our community now. I mean, it's so inspiring. And you've carried yourself through so many obstacles. Any parting words for our audience?
Yes. The parting words that I would leave with people, because I always want to leave people with something to hold on to, especially when those times get kind of hard. One thing I'll say is, and I use this quote till today, like me personally, I use this quote. So my situation does not define who I am. I define who I am. And what that means is don't allow people to put labels on you. Just because they say you're disabled, don't show them why you're differently abled. Just because they say you're bipolar, show them why you can control that too. When they say you got ADD, say, yeah, but I can still maintain this task as well. And, those are the things that I believe you should do. You should, even though they put labels on you, show them why you still can do things.
So powerful. Thank you for that. An audience member wants to get in touch with you. What's the best method to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Easy. So I kind of have like a one-stop shop. My website, ameymotivation.com. That's AMEY motivation.com. You can go there. If you want to book me for speaking engagements, that's on the website. If you want to follow me on social media, I got all of my social media handles embedded into the website, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my Twitter. And I believe the YouTube is up there as well. I'm not sure. And then also the book link is up there as well. So if you want to click on that link, you can find it that way too.
That's awesome. And again, we'll include those in the show notes. Kijuan, it's been fantastic having you on our show today. You are truly inspiring. I loved how you just had that quote, the situation doesn't define who you are. You get to define who you are. And it's so powerful. Audience members, please subscribe to our show. Please like this episode. Please share it with your community. I'd love to have Kijuan's message projected out to a larger audience. Come find him on his socials, find him on his websites, book him for your next event. Again, it's been awesome having you on the show, and I really appreciate your time and inspiration.
Thank you so much for having me on your platform and allowing me to share my story.
Thank you for tuning in to the Chief Endurance Officer Podcast. To hear more inspiring stories and strategies around the endurance mindset, be sure to subscribe below or visit us at chiefinduranceofficer.com. Until next time, keep pushing those limits